Hey guys, Delora Dabbles here, and it is the fourth day of Ethonys 31 Days of Tarot. Let me see, fourth day. Yes. Top tarot decks over the last 10 years. Now, it's no secret that, I've recently gotten back into the tarot and have only been, gung-ho with the tarot in the last 1 year. So, I'm just going to change this prompt to decks I have that are over 10 years old. So a lot of the decks that I have been published in the last 10 years. None of them predate 10 years, but I have six. I have six that are older than 10 years, and I will just kind of start off with the obvious ones, the Thoth and the Rider Waite. I'm counting all Rider Waites and Rider Waite clones. Now this, of course, is Pixie's Rider Waite, which I do prefer. If I'm gonna have I don't really like the Radiant or the Universal. I really like Pixie's artwork, and I love the tin edition of anything because it's just so beautiful and tiny. So we have that. We have the Thoth tarot, which was painted by Lady Frida Harris at the under the instruction of Crawley, but she definitely did her own thing with this deck, and I love this deck for it. I would call this deck the Frida Harris Thoth, because there's so many Thoth-based decks now that, whenever you say Thoth, you could be meaning the Thoth or any Thoth. So this is the Lady Harris Thoth, and I like it a lot. I mean, it wasn't. Let's see, it was painted and finished during World War II, and then it wasn't really mass published until the 70s, I think. Yeah, I don't think it was mass published until the 70s. Yeah, 1978, 1983, and 2006. Apparently that's whenever the repeating batches were done, perhaps. Not sure. This is one of the best-selling decks, tarot decks, every year. People are so attracted to this deck, whether they read with it or not, so gotta have this in the collection. I'm thinking about buying the huge deck and trimming it down. That way I can have the artwork bigger, but that's really I don't know, not right now, I guess. So, the next one I have, it is also a Thoth deck. It is the Liber Thoth deck. And I want to say it was published in 2006. But I don't have the I don't have the little white book right on hand. Anyway, but I know it was published before 2010, and that's all that matters. That's all that qualifies it for the video. This is really cool because this is a pip. This is a pip card. It is a Frida Harris Thoth clone. So it is an exact clone of Lady Frida Harris's work, but the pips are slightly illustrated. You can see that Lady Frida Harris's original pips are living inside of the pictorial images, and they kind of take the focal point of the 2 to 10 cards, but there are people either interacting with the pips or interacting above the pips, or in some cases, interacting around the pips, right? It's very astrologically based, I have noticed, and some of the things going on in the pips don't necessarily make sense to me, but that's just kind of the fun, I guess, of researching and studying Thoth and being like, oh, that card makes sense now. It's a little rewarding treasure hunt. If you like, never-ending treasure hunts of rabbit holes into the Kabbalah, but that's a whole nother story. We're going to get completely out of Thoth now, and we're going to go into some Rider-Waite-Smith decks. So one of my favorite tarot decks is the Paulina Tarot. This was published in 2008 by Paulina Cassidy. She is one of my favorite artists. she basically, her art style reminds me of my Nana and things that my Nana would have liked, even though I wasn't that close to my Nana. I trimmed it. I trimmed this and like did the corners because I have like this really gnarly corner puncher thingy. So now I can finally trim these and they look so pretty. Now for some reason the lighting in here is really shit, but y'all kind of get the idea of her art style from this. So if you haven't seen Paulina Cassidy's work, pretty sure a lot of you have. This is not her only Rider-Waite Smith deck. She has the Joie de Vie Tarot. So, and she has, I want to say she has a third one. I mean, she has the Spirit Song Tarot, but that's an animal tarot, so it's really not Rider-Waite Smith. You could not say that about that deck. But the Spirit Song was published in 2018. It definitely does not fit in the list of things published before 2010. Next up, we have the Tarot Erotica. This is one of my favorite decks. I can't really show you any of the cards in here because I really don't want the video to be reported or taken down for anything. I don't know what YouTube's new policies, what they're doing or what's going on with it. I just don't want to run any risks. I will be doing a video eventually, a dissection video of this deck because it's really cool. She plays around with the laws of tarot. So a lot of people are very specific about the elemental correspondences to the suit. You know, like the swords always have to be air and rods always have to be fire. But in this one, swords are fire, rods are earth, and pentacles are air. Cups are always going to be water. I feel like that's just a given for most people. And it changes the way I read it. It really does, and it makes a very subtle difference. And I love this deck for that. It is the only deck of mine that completely alters the elemental suits, and fucking love that. It's like so weird, and I love it. Another deck that is truly wonderful and unique is the Xultun Tarot. It is the Maya Tarot that was published in, I believe it was published in 76. Again, I don't have, this is my second time filming. The first video was absolutely terrible, and I was not about to upload it. This one, with my hair not brushed and me still rambling a little bit, is still way better than the first one I filmed. Arcana Publishing Company, Xultun Tarot. And it definitely has that 1976 vibe to it. It's borderless for a deck that was published in 1976. And this isn't the original 1976 publishing either. I don't know when exactly this particular one was published, this edition, but this edition even was published before 2010, and it's still borderless. I feel like a lot of people have jumped on a borderless card bandwagon simply because, you know, a lot of people are trimming their decks. And so publishers are like, oh, people like this stuff without the borders, and people are more likely to buy borderless. And I feel like, you know, the Xultun is kind of like that hipster card that's like, I was borderless before it was cool. All right, all jokes aside, I love a tarot deck that completely changes and alters your idea of the tarot. I like decks that can help me view the tarot through any kind of different lens. In this case, a completely different cultural lens. And I like how it takes the tarot and makes it Mayan. And see, it made me so mad whenever I was reading the reviews and shit, and people were like, I don't understand the dots and dashes. Like, they could have just numbered it. Nah, 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 nah. Bitch, these are numbers. Fuck off. You will not see 5 dots. It's 4 dots, and then a bar is 5. 4 dots, and then a bar is 5. Like, that's all you fucking need to know. It's really not that hard of a concept to grasp. There's a bar and a dot. Fucking 6. That's the lovers. Like, don't get fucking weird with it. Like, people don't like different, even if different is beautiful and amazing, and I think different is fucking awesome. And can we just talk about how this strength card is the cactus with the tiny little bird on it. Like, ah. Also, what I like about this deck, and you can find pictures of it online, is that you can line up all of the cards and make a row. Which a lot of people are like, oh, I love that the Prisma Visions does this. I love that the na card does this. And yet this, again, this deck was the hipster of like this whole fad before it was cool. And the Xultun Tarot was like, I put cards together to make a bigger picture before it was cool. I was borderless before it was cool. You know? I was culturally diverse before it was cool. And like I think everyone should try to get this deck because it's out of print. And yet I only paid $18 for it on Amazon. It was $17 and some change. And because it was Amazon Prime, I didn't pay for any shipping. So, I mean, it's out of print, but it's not an expensive out of print deck. It is truly unique. And I'm just plugging it at this point because I think everyone should have it. And so I saved the best for last. We were at the end of the video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. My next video, 5 through, I believe, 9 is going to be all in one video because I'm going out of town to see my folks, the 5th through the 8th. So until tomorrow, happy dabbling and bye-bye.